Hello, everybody. This is Nashville Demystified, a show in which I get to know the city better by talking with the folks who live, work, agitate, and make art here. Today, we talk with the Weird Sisters. My name is Alex Steed. I'm your host. Before we start, I want to take this opportunity to ask you right here at the top of the show to subscribe to the podcast wherever you do that sort of thing. Leave a review. It really does help, I am told. And follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and the gaping messy wound that is Facebook. We're still there for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just a fact of the matter. That's where people who want to promote things go and feel bad about themselves. The format of today's episode is a little different from how it normally is. Typically, we run interviews or narratives about Nashville and its history and present day goings on. We've also, when the content calls for it, produced various kinds of sound collage, which is a format we really enjoy playing with. Today, honoring the fact that the Weird Sisters is at once a creative and offbeat endeavor, we decided to mash all three formats together and turned our conversation with the band into a sound and audio collage. And I should say, by we, I mean me. It's just me here. Nashville Demystified is made possible by Knack Factory, a video and content production house with offices here in the city. It's distributed by We Own This Town, which is a collection of podcasts made by Nashvillians. All the shows are great. Go and listen to all the shows right now. I ran into the Weird Sisters by bumping into band member Gabrielle at the 5 spot. My girlfriend played a show there, and I noticed Gabrielle Lewis's red bodysuit and a long coat, and she just looked great, and I complimented her on the whole thing, and she immediately started bragging about how the whole thing cost just $15, and I knew immediately I liked this person a lot. Then I realized I was already following her and the band on Instagram, and we made arrangements to chat and hang and feature the band on this show, and that was that. So I should say, going into the episode, that the band is made up of Gabrielle, Isaac Short, Jeff Brown, and Caitlin Crowley. And despite having a great chat, we had a wonderful conversation. The band's very warm and lovely and hospitable. And we smoked a joint after, and I accidentally got super high and had to skip going to a party afterwards because I got too high. But despite that great chat, I realized the limitations of interviewing 4 people at one time. It makes for a great real-time conversation, but not necessarily the best exchange for this kind of format. So I talked with Nashville Demystified's old friend Jesse LaFontaine, who is a sound engineer who's worked with us in the past, about turning it into collage and sort of turning it into what the exchange felt like in my head more than it probably actually sounded like in real life. So that's what we did, and that's what you're about to hear. And in this case, I guess it is we. I guess it isn't just me. It's me and Jesse in this circumstance. But Jesse, I should say, used a few Weird Sisters tunes to edit to. One is their cover of Carol of the Bells, and then there's Reminder Rewinder. And there's a song called The Martian Queen, and another called Will You Be Mine? Yeah. Oh, it just strikes me now that I didn't ask the Weird Sisters if their name is a reference to Shakespeare or Harry Potter. Maybe I'll do that in the future. Just a quick aside for you to consider, a thing that I did not do. Anyway, the Weird Sisters, they're truly a delight to hang and spend time with. And I'm glad that they let me come to their house and talk to them for an hour, not having any idea how this whole thing would end up turning out. I really enjoy the output here and how this came together. I can't say enough good things about these folks. They're incredibly thoughtful and lovely. Their music is a trip. It's a total fucking trip. And if you have not dived in, now is definitely the time. They sound like a band called the Weird Sisters. It's a lot of fun. I look forward to sharing this episode with you. So, without further ado, the Weird Sisters.
Recent roommates that I've moved in with and stuff, super talented, all on their own projects and everything, and it's just like you get to jam with them. It's just so cool. The art of the jam.
The idea of jamming is so important in music
and intrinsic
and in life. Yeah, just getting people in a room and just playing with things until it works. Whether that's music, get a bunch of people in a room and you just start following the intuition of music, or just you know, in life, just trying new things and seeing what happens. And you know, that like jamming is almost like a muscle. Like once you take it to that level, it's just the flow. And that energy, whatever music is, like it comes in and it inhabits you. It's not necessarily a product of yourself or your hard work. It's just you yourself are a tool able to create it, and like that force drives you. And once you think of your physical nature as a tool, you're able to drive that some pretty crazy places. And we've had some beautiful moments playing music together and spending time together, all of us.
I'm Gabrielle, you've been talking to me.
Oh, I'm Isaac. I guess I play the fucking guitar.
I'm Caitlin. I do some singing.
I'm Jeff, and I play the drums.
Like jamming's almost like a muscle. It's just the flow.
But that was the first time we'd ever
So go
powwow.
outside. There was a door to go outside right next to
It
the
really
stage.
was.
So message
That's where we
received, but
loaded in,
it's
and it almost kind of made more sense.
And then there was a door across the bar to go outside. So I
Like
went to
to-
the close one, and they went to the far one.
Miscommunication.
An album's like a mood thing. You gotta have like the attention span for a whole mood. You yourself are a tool able to create it.
Communication.
We want to feed their souls.
Yes. Want them to feel things.
Yeah. We don't know what that means because I think we're just evolving and growing.
Okay, we checked all four systems, and you were go on modulation, all four, and keying was a go. Roger, you're loud and clear.
There was a cover band that I played in. We played once a month at Brown's Diner, and we needed a guitar player. And just so happened this little young kid had just moved to Nashville, and he was working in one of the other guys in the band's shop. And so he showed up and he played a couple songs. And
Well, I was scared
actually
if I
how
didn't
met
go.
Isaac.
Was that Todd?
Yeah, it was Todd. I was scared if I didn't go, they'd fire me. So I really wanted that
So
job.
Todd invited you. He's just like, come play. You play guitar.
Yeah, he asked me to play Crossroads and Tour Down. And I walked in there and it was feeling pretty good. I was really nervous in the parking lot. I almost went back to Pittsburgh, but I quit my job in Pittsburgh, 2 weeks before I moved down here. I just immediately made the decision to go, and that's where I met Jeff, immediately.
That's great.
But they started the band. I wasn't part of the band for a while.
Yeah, it was just
There-
us on our lonesome.
There was like a long stretch between me meeting Isaac and me actually joining their band. I don't really know when it actually became official, because at first I was just kind of playing drums with them a little bit till they met somebody or found somebody that they
Well, we didn't think you wanted to
play
do
with.
we didn't think you wanted to do it because we were like kids, and you've been on more official kinds of assignments.
But that's kind of how I figured it. I figured they were just like, they had these gigs and I was a drummer that they knew and I could play the part. So they asked me to do it, but then they just kept asking me to show up and I just kind of kept showing up.
Yeah, and then it became official.
And then it sort of
Yes.
became official. I guess when we released the album, my name was on there.
connection to music has always been, it's like spiritually fed, because growing up in the church, I mean, the music was the only thing I really paid attention to, you know. That was the best time. And we'd go to concerts and stuff. I know I went and saw Santana with my dad. I was at DT Energy Theater.
That's a good one.
Yeah, like on the lawn. And then I remember we were at, I think, Joe Louis Arena one time. We saw Eric Clapton there. Wow. And that was the first time. It was kind of different, because I was young enough that I'd like looked back, and this guy had this white t-shirt on, and he had some blood on it, and there was like the security coming down and stuff, and my dad's like, oh, he's like, they're just drunk, man. They're just like, he just had, you know, they had too much to drink, and like experiencing that, and I'm like, whoa, this is like a rock and roll concert. I'm like, okay, because it's like, then you're at church on Sunday, and you're like, all right, this is different. Music is just such a mood-based thing for me. Remember, I saw Sigur Rós at Fontanel. They're that Icelandic band. I'm like, that's the one show where I had like an out-of-body experience. Just totally organic. I mean, it was like everybody that was there, it's like, it felt like, I was like, wow, I'm in an outdoor church. Like, it was like a worship service. But that's just like how I connect to it. And also, being outside an outdoor amphitheater, you've got the woods surrounding. That's just where I feel like I'm like a whole person. I'm a whole being.
So I was at a live performance. I went to see the New York Philharmonic. I was 16 years old, and I was obsessed with opera. I went to see Verdi's Requiem, and there was this one part. It's like the part of the opera where everything is like heaven and hell, purgatory, and there's this massive like chorus where everyone is just full forte in the orchestra and the choir, double chorus. So just like probably 280 people, just as full volume as could possibly be. I remember in that moment just feeling as if every part of my body was just like on fire. I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking do this. I'm gonna do this. And now I'm not doing exactly that now, but that was my moment with music when I was just like, yes. And not just that, but it was so inspiring. And I mean, that's most fascinating to me, because that shit's hundreds of years old. And the fact that it can still get a rise out of people today, I mean, man.
My first concert I went to was Farm Aid in '95. It was at Louisville Stadium. And having never been to a concert before and then going to that, it was like Willie Nelson and John Mellencamp and I think Tom Petty was there and Neil Young, Dave Matthews Band. And we snuck down, we had crappy seats, but we snuck down on the floor. And we just kept having to like move around because the security guards would come around. We didn't have actual seats, so we just kind of like would like shuffle into a place when nobody was there, and then we'd move along when they came back. But
like Elvis kicked me in the balls, and I felt that sting for like 5 years. Like it was nuts. Yeah, just getting into Elvis, but like you just the energy in the soul of the whole fucking thing. But but like live speaking, my first like live show that I saved up and saw was the Eagles, and I saw like a run of just like old motherfuckers in concert. I saw the Eagles, saw Clapton, I saw Fleetwood Mac, and like, you know, this is like 2008 or something. But it was like I was young and I was, you know, it was the thing. But getting back, I saw B.B. King. We were talking about B.B. King earlier, and the dude who opened for him was of all people, Willie Nelson's son. It was Lucas Nelson. Yeah, so it was Lucas Nelson, Promise of the Real. And this is probably like 2008, 2009. And it was the Station Square in Pittsburgh. It was raining, and it was this, beautiful show, but it was all outdoors. And the opener was Lucas Nelson, and I'd never seen anyone perform like that because I've only ever gone out to see all these, gentlemen in their, 60s, 70s. And I never seen a young guy with like spirit get on a stage and perform. He's barefoot and the dude's murdering this guitar. It's raining like a motherfucker. The drummer looked like Ginger Baker. Like, that's all I remember. And I mean, it was a crushing performance. And then B.B. King comes on, and it's like spiritual from there on out. But that whole show was just a big turning point in like performance and reverence. Yeah, that was probably like the real big one that got me, because I was obsessed with music completely and utterly before that, and maybe it took that experience, like just more understanding to appreciate that, but that was a huge turning point. It was just like I knew exactly like what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it in a lot of ways. It was just like a big piece of the puzzle that I didn't understand. It was like within 2 hours, like I had zero understanding, and then I knew exactly what I had to do.
She is the final piece of the puzzle. Very recent.
Yeah, what,
7 months ago.
7 months?
She came in just in time to finish our record.
Started off with me taking a 2-year hiatus kind of from music or like playing in a band at all. I kind of was ready to leave Nashville. After being here in August, it was 11 years for me. I had played in another band for about 5 years here, and we put out an album, and then I quit a little after that.
We made it past that.
Yeah. And that was partially why I took a step back. Because I think the idea of like joining another project such as this is like I put my heart into a project, 100%, like, and my heart has to be in it totally. So the idea of that, and then just like, gosh, being in a relationship with, being in a band is definitely, just being in a relationship with your pals. It was like, I didn't know if I was ready to do that again right off the bat. Felt like something was really unresolved though, like in my heart, and towards music and everything. And then I started getting like Facebook messages and Instagram messages from Gabrielle Hannah Lewis. I was like,
I was being a creep. I'm like, oh, this girl, she's got it.
And I immediately started lurking, and it was like the Weird Sisters and this and I'm like watching. I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. It was overwhelming because I knew just by the preview of like one of her messages, I literally put my phone down and I was like, I'm gonna go about my day and just do everything I planned on doing today, and I'm gonna come back to this because I know I'm gonna have to make a choice. I could tell just from the preview she was gonna ask me to be a part of something. And I knew that was gonna change things for me. So was still like doing personal stuff musically, like writing, trying to get better at guitar, but yeah, just happened. I came over here, and the first night I was here and I met Gabby and Isaac. It was like the first date, and by the end of it I just knew. I was like, I'm gonna be in this band, and I can't say no, because seeing the space and seeing how they lived, knowing just already how gifted I knew that they were, and how serious they were, I was like, I don't know. I like want to be a part of this. The music is here. It's all around us, just like these guys want to create. They're as weird and as cool as I feel like me. So I'm like, all right.
always ask me, oh, who are your influences? What do you sound? I know this and that. And like, I know who influences me, but I don't think that has any bearing on our sound. I think our sound is like its own thing.
But because we all come from such different backgrounds too, it's like the fact that we unite over that and we create what we create, it's really cool. I think a lot of, like I felt when you guys first started showing me songs, and I agree with Isaac, it's like anything we can do to unite people and just be like, look at us, we're all really different, but we work together as a team.
Where I came from, it wasn't, it was just like tumbleweeds, man. You're playing, tattoo shops and basements and house parties and stuff, and it was fun, and there's so much energy to perform and make music in places like that, but there's no room to grow. So I think Nashville kind of has this, like there's a ladder if you're willing to climb it, just as far as, reaching people.
I think there is a really good community, and I just try to be open and minded enough to keep that ever reaching. I feel like when I had thrown shows and stuff and put, like I threw a birthday show and handpicked all my favorite Nashville bands to build a bill that I felt like was cohesive and awesome rock and roll show. And I feel like I like that. I like bringing friend groups together that wouldn't necessarily collide. But then I make that happen, and you're like, look, yes, you guys should have known each other.
The scene is certainly very supportive, I would say.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, you can be a fan of so many things. It's not just like, you can only be a fan of one thing. Like, we can all support each other and be fans of music, and every fan of music or whatever, they can like 30,000 different bands and support them all at the same time just by listening to music. It's great.
Approach control, arrival information, Charlie Stern, expect runway 7 right.
I started playing drums when I was 5. I was a real hyper kid, so my parents bought me a drum set. And then they figured they should probably give me some lessons so I didn't just randomly beat on them. So, pretty much for as long as I can remember, I don't really remember that many things before I was 5. So I pretty much always played drums. So drums have always been a huge part of my life. When I was 5 to probably 8, I found my parents' record collection, which wasn't very big because they weren't music listeners, but they had 2 Beatles albums and Beach Boys' Pet Sounds.
Wow.
And The Ventures. I don't know how that one got in there, but and I think a Mama's and the Papas record, but that one got scratched. I remember finding this little box with all these records, and the Beatles album, the first one I listened to was Hard Day as Night. It had all the little pictures on the front, which I thought was cool. And I remember putting it on, and that guitar intro to Hard Day's Night starts. And it wasn't anything, there was nothing like that was on any of the 3 records that I currently owned. And I just remember being like, wow, I want to listen to more of this. And I kind of wore those records out, and then cassettes were a thing, so I got a cassette player. I went to a drum clinic when I was 8. It was Liberty DeVito, who was Billy Joel's drummer. And being an 8-year-old kid and seeing this guy come up there and just play drums, and he's notorious for being a really, really heavy hitter. He just hits the shit out of the drums. And watching him as a kid, I just thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I went out and I bought a bunch of Billy Joel tapes.
I started off playing classical music, that and jazz, all through childhood and even college. And then I met him and started doing rock and roll. The thing is, for me, I still love and respect that music, honestly, sorry guys, more than any other kind of music. But it doesn't mean it has to be a career path, because there was a lot more that went into it than just the music. There were a lot of politics, a lot about, being a woman in that world and what that meant, and, being especially an orchestral conductor, and just kind of, I just didn't want to, deal with a lot of the bullshit that went along with it, so. And now I'm able to be really creatively fulfilled and play music with my friends and not have to worry about coordinating, 60 to 100 members for every rehearsal, which is nice.
I just remember always really liking music a lot. Listening to the radio in my dad's van. But he gave me a pile of records that were 45s that were specifically for him going into basements in high school and kissing girls. Yeah. And they put on the records, and they put the 45s on, and everyone would start kissing and dancing and belly rubbing. So he had all these left over from, you know, from I don't know, there was Elvis and the Jordanaires, and I mean, like Louis the Kingsman, Jimmy Dean was at yeah, there were so many cool cuts in there. The guy, he gave me a Voice of Music record player. I sat, like, you know, I was like 4 or 5, and I just listened to those all the time. And all this, like, you know, late 50s, early 60s rock and roll. And then I saw Back to the Future, and I saw Marty McFly just like destroy Johnny B. Good. And I knew then that I was like, I want to play the guitar. I just want to play the guitar. And I played a little bit of piano, you know, from like the time I was like 6 until 12 or something, but I picked up the guitar around then, and it was just like a piano. What? Like I didn't care less about it. I just wanted to play the guitar all the time. I had an old classical guitar, and it became like a journey of just like trying to figure out how to play everything, but like simultaneously like trying to find music. Like I remember just going and any recommendation, like following it to the nth degree, figuring out every album, like all the songs, who played on it, who mixed it, who produced it, like just like an overall obsession with like just music. It just didn't have anything to do with genres, just whatever caught my fancy and it's still going on, you know. Like I'm still there. Like I just haven't got out of that phase yet, because it's just the education, just like listening, you know. Just like artistically, like seeing how, and being able to look back into older music, especially you see someone's artistic development over a huge span of time, like a lifetime. You're able to look back on that now. If you look at like B.B. King's like discography, what does that mean? Like that whole overarching, like this is what he did every moment of his career. Every 2 years they put out an album. This is what represented him then. Like following that linearly, like that's a beautiful thing that we're able to do now, considering how old recorded music is.
So my mom always sang, that whole side of the family, my mom's side. I remember holiday get-togethers and everything. We're singing carols out of carol books, and I was in church, you know, just as young as I could remember. And so I think there are just photos of me on stage. It'd be like me and my mom holding my baby sister, like toddler, and the mic, you know, and I don't think I knew what I was consciously even doing, but it was singing, and just, there's nothing better than to like have my mom hear her singing around the house and stuff. And she would get me and my sister and her together, and we'd just sing a cappella, and she taught us to harmonize. And my dad was just a lover of music, absolutely tone deaf. You know, my mom she'd pick on him, but he was just a lover of music, he still has a bunch of old concert stubs, like thick stacks, you know, rubber banded up, yellowed, and I'm just like, what? You know, he's the one telling me about the concerts he's been to, and just like me and him going down the back roads to get to the like town near us, like 20 minutes away, to go to the water park. And we'd listen to Tom Petty and Steely Dan, Steve Miller Band, you know, Styx, and like, and it always sparked, there were conversations that sparked where it's like, Dad, you know, what does The Last Dance with Mary Jane, what does that mean? Is he talking about a lover? Is he, you know? And I loved the songs, and I didn't know what they meant, you know? My mom would play records. She got a lot of cassettes too. I'd remember like opening up their closet in their bedroom, and just like they would all be stacked and kind of lined on the bottom, just open it up, and you know, so if I wasn't like memorizing Bible verses or something, I was singing with a little hairbrush, like doing that whole thing. And because my mom loved it too, a lot of musical stuff, a lot of watching Turner Classic Movies with her and singing the songs from that, seeing the sets. That's just like performance. To me, it was like, wow, they do it all. And it's great for my brain, because I visually, everything, combining that and music, I like just love that big picture. And so it's there, it's just in my blood, I think. I couldn't get away from it. I know my mom settled down and she had us kids and stuff, and I think she could have maybe gone that route when she was younger, and she didn't. And I was like, I gotta do it. So she's really supportive, and but yeah, I've heard her thing for it, just being born into it.
That the past is behind me at last. I am moving towards a time of love. I am you are me. Close my eyes and you'll see. We are moving towards a time of love.
Focus on your guitar and like not girls and not getting just focus on guitar and not anything else that you're doing. But I didn't do that, and I still had a really fucking great time and fucked a lot of shit up.
Don't go to college straight. Don't make those rash decisions. Definitely move out of your small hometown and get out and just go for it, man.
Try to stay focused on the things that I really want and not get sidetracked by, all these distractions that you seem to have in life.
You know what? They didn't do it better. They just did it different. So be creative.
I haven't been with you guys that long, and we're still just becoming like the best of friends. Like, but I can say, like, I love you. I love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you too.
The stars in the sky make me feel like a dog in the
Welcome back. A great ending to the new beginning.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening to Nashville Demystified. Again, I'm your host, Alex Steed. Nashville Demystified is brought to you by Knack Factory, and we own this town. This episode in particular was engineered by the great Jesse LaFontaine, who, when I need a sound collage done, that is the man. That is the man to go to. He knows what's going on. Tune in next week for the beginning of our dive into Nashville in the 1980s. It's a mini series. I have no idea how long it's going to run. I don't know where we're going to go. And I think that's sort of why we're going in this direction. And to kick off this series, I'm going to start where else but 1990. so we can figure out where the 80s landed Nashville and go backwards from there. Tune in. I look forward to talking with you, and I look forward to sharing that episode. Thanks so much for listening. Again, this is Nashville Demystified, signing off.